Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It is our match preview. I'm joined by the Manchester Evening News' Dominic, who is a MUFC writer. Thank you very much for popping onto the episode, Dom.
No, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
It's a daunting game for Newcastle on Sunday down at Old Trafford, especially given Manchester United's victory in the Europa League yesterday, 4-1 against Real Sociedad. But actually, if you look at the form recently of Manchester United in the league, they've only won one of the last five. And yes, it was a 9-0 victory against Leicester. But is there cause for optimism from Newcastle's point of view that Manchester United are maybe a bit vulnerable in the Premier League at the moment?
Yeah, I think there is probably. I think United have struggled for a bit of fluency of late. Like you say, the 4-goal performance against Sociedad sort of boosts them a little bit. It gives them what they obviously needed after the drop points against West Brom, against Everton, and also against Sheffield United. They lost at home against them, and like you say, the 9-0 against Southampton has been the only positive league performance of late. So I think from a Man United perspective, I think the fans obviously looking at this game against Newcastle as a really good opportunity to get back to winning ways in the league and to maybe transfer the form from the Sociedad game into domestic matters. So I think it very much depends how Newcastle are shaping up and whether they can exploit the obvious deficiencies that United do have, defensively and often breaking down teams who are rigid and solid at the back has been a problem of Solskjaer's side this season.
I think many Newcastle United fans would be looking at that result against West Brom and thinking that is how we can approach this game and get the better of Man United. Can you just explain to our listeners who maybe didn't watch that game, didn't know how it went down, just how West Brom frustrated Manchester United?
Yeah, I mean, they were everything that you expect, really, of a Sam Allardyce side. They were very, very solid at the back, very physical and strong. Obviously, didn't give an inch in the tackle, and then they exploited what is a weakness of United's from set pieces, and they got an early goal, which obviously helped the cause as well. And from that early goal, 2 minutes in, it was a real struggle, a slog, really, for Man United to break them down. They obviously got one goal through Bruno Fernandes, but it never really looked like a game that they were dominating, which is a big concern, really, against a team like West Brom, obviously struggling so badly as they are. And that has been a theme of the season, where it's been a struggle sometimes against these teams, especially at home, actually. The West Brom game was away, but especially at Old Trafford, teams have come and defended well, and United have made heavy weather of it.
I think many Newcastle United fans will look at how the Magpies performing against Chelsea. Again, references were kind of made. It was like a bit of a training game for Chelsea for large parts of the 90 minutes. If the same pans out against Manchester United, where Newcastle just kind of sit back, they don't press, they just allow Manchester United to have the ball and come at them, how would that suit the Red Devils?
Well, they want teams to come and play at them. There's no doubt about that. With the pace that they've got of Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood, Anthony Martial, if he starts, that's what they want teams to do. And that's what Sociedad did on Thursday night, which was to their detriment, really. They played with such a high line. And United, who had less possession in the game, actually, were just able to pick them off time and time again on the break. I think they created double the amount of shots, despite, like I say, having less than half the balls. I don't see that happening on Sunday. Obviously, Newcastle fans will know that better than me, that's not their style. So, yeah, I do think it'll be a case of maybe like the Newcastle-Chelsea game. Can United break down the 11 men that are probably going to sit behind the ball? And like I said before, that's not been a formality this season by any stretch of the imagination.
I think many Newcastle United fans, and I tend to agree with this opinion, they kind of label Newcastle of fearing some of the sides, fearing the top sides. And if Newcastle do come in to this game and kind of they come with an approach that a point is what they can get out of it at best, and maybe the idea is not to lose by quite a few goals, how will Man United take advantage of that? Is that something that can Man United kind of smell the fear in opposition and they look to pounce on that?
Yeah, they used to talk about the aura, didn't they, that Old Trafford had and that United had under Ferguson, and almost teams were beaten in the tunnel beforehand, weren't they? They came scared and they didn't look like they were ever going to get anything. Obviously, that has changed post-Ferguson, and Solskjaer has has desperately tried to bring some of that aura back and some of the swagger back about United, which I think he has to an extent. The football is a lot more attacking than it was under Mourinho and Van Gaal. But Newcastle have got recent history of doing well against United. There's that win with Matty Longstaff scoring St James's Park. They gave them a scare, I think, in the reverse fixture that season. Although United battled back to win that game, I think Longstaff scored again early on in that one. So there's a bit of recent history there that tells you that the Newcastle shouldn't be written off, and I wouldn't write them off, even though I do make Man United big favourites.
In the reverse game this season, Man United ran out 4-1 winners, and Newcastle scored really early on, and Steve Bruce got a lot of criticism for then just allowing his side to sit back, and gradually Man United came into the game, and I mean it could have been a scoreline of much bigger numbers had Caldalo and Man United maybe not been as wasteful. Do you see them having that dominance once again in this fixture?
Yeah, that was an important game at the time because United had started the league so badly, and they desperately needed a performance and a result to sort of restore confidence in Solskjaer's job and the team selections that he was going with at the time. He sort of went back to basics then with Fred and McTominay in front of the back four, which has been the sort of platform for most games since then. So I see it maybe being a similar game to that, to be honest, with United dominating the ball, and they'll have the better of the chances. It's just like you say, will they be wasteful or can they take the chances? I think if Newcastle get an early goal, the neutrals will be in for a great game because it will be it'll be all siege mentality from United from them. But if United get an early goal, I think it probably will be a bit of a formality. That's the one thing that I guess Steve Bruce will be wanting to avoid.
And in terms of Manchester United's aim, obviously second in the league, but they look up and there's Manchester City 10 points ahead. Many people put them down as favourites to win the Premier League title. But of course, it's not over until it's over. I mean, Newcastle and Manchester United know that very well from that season when the Magpies had a 12-point lead at the top of the Premier League table. Sorry, listeners, for mentioning that. Still, it's me to talk about it. But is there a feeling that Manchester United can catch their rivals at the top of the table, and therefore, they've got to start winning kind of every game and making sure that it's not just one win and then a draw. It's a consistent winning run, and it starts Sunday against Newcastle.
Yeah, they have to do that. Whether they're title challengers or not, I think is a bit of a moot point because the way Man City are playing at the moment, United could win every game from now to the end of the season. They still wouldn't win the league. So I think it's just about cementing the progression that from last season, finishing third, but a long way behind the top two, 30 points or something to the leaders it was, which no United fan really wants to see. They want to see a much closer title race. And if they can string some results together and maybe challenge Man City, I think that's a bit of a bonus. I think if United did cement themselves in second, that would be seen as a positive season without a doubt. And like you say, it's these games against Newcastle, they literally cannot afford to slip up in. There's been far too many this season, and United fans will be an outpouring of frustration if it happens again, without a doubt.
Let's talk about Bruno Fernandes because he's just my most favourite player in the Premier League. He's absolutely brilliant to watch. How do you think he would enjoy playing against Newcastle United side, which is likely just to kind of invite the pressure on, as we've mentioned previously in the show?
Yeah, I mean, he's key to everything, isn't he? Where would United be without Bruno Fernandes this season? You shudder to think, really. Even against Sociedad on Thursday night, they were labouring a little bit. Marcus Rashford had missed a couple of big chances, and it was a massive relief to United fans when the next big chance did fall the way of Fernandes, and he obviously tucked it home, and he's just a talisman, and that sums him up, really, the way he carries United forward, and he demands more of himself and more of his teammates all the time. And he's also a risk taker, and I think that's absolutely key in games against teams like Newcastle, who are going to sit deep. You need that spark. You need someone to unpick the defence, and I think he is a player like no other, like you say, in the Premier League, and his ability to take a gamble, try something that other players probably wouldn't do. He scored an absolutely phenomenal goal. I think it was the winner, or the second goal. Obviously, there was two later ones at St James's Park in the season, but that finish of Fernandes at the from a really tight angle at the near post to seal that win was, like another fantastic moment of his. And yeah, he keeps producing them, and United all hope that he keeps doing it.
We're going to hear now from our chief sports writer, Lee Ryder.
Well, it's never normally a happy hunting ground for Newcastle when they go to Old Trafford, but going into this game, I think they probably will class themselves as having a little bit of a chance. Bear with me on it. I think really the chance for them will be, that Man United are playing the third game in 6 days, so that will give them a little bit of an opportunity in terms of tiredness, to travel, all that sort of stuff. There's no guarantee on that, of course, because realistically, Newcastle know they're going in against a top class side who are capable of winning a European trophy this season. But they'll probably think they've got a bit of a chance. I mean, you look at that Chelsea game in the second half, Newcastle were a little bit better. We are now led to believe that there was some harsh words exchanged during the half-time break, and the last time that happened, I think Jamal Lascelles at Southampton a few years ago, really let fly. And basically, I think they need something like that. They needed a different voice to say something, because it's just been going through the motions. And I hope in the last 14 games they can dig deep and find something. But it won't be easy at Man United. Newcastle go there without Callum Wilson. It's going to be another opportunity for Dwight Gale. Newcastle got to get the service right for the front man, because otherwise, they're going to have absolutely no chance. And they're going to have to defend better than they did in the first half at Chelsea. So it's an opportunity in some ways. They've got to go there with a bit of hope. They've got to have that belief. But, overall, Newcastle are struggling. They're looking over the shoulder. The gap could be cut again by Fulham before that game even kicks off. So we'll see exactly, where they can go after this one.
So there was our chief sports writer, Lee Ryder, just after Steve Bruce's press conference on Friday morning. A little bit more optimistic than I thought he might be there. And Lee points out the fact that Man United have played quite a few games over the past recent week or so. How do you think that'll play into preparation for Sunday?
Yeah, it's been an issue all season. I think that you have to praise Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he has rotated his team very regularly, and I think all the better managers have done that this season. Pep Guardiola, you don't want any of his players in your fantasy football team because you've got no idea who's going to start. It's like that, and United are not quite at that level where they can afford to do what Guardiola does. People like Fernandes, Rashford, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, they always play, but it is a concern managing the schedule for Solskjaer. I guess Newcastle, they'll be glad to have a free week as well, to be honest, because they've had everyone's had 2 games per week pretty much with this weird and crazy season. So if that's one way that they can think they can exploit United, then I'll be interested to see if it does play out. Fatigue has been something that Solskjaer has denied to be a factor this season whenever United have come up short. So they won't be using that as an excuse if they do slip up against Newcastle. So I'll be interested to see. I don't think it'll be a Newcastle performance where they'll be particularly running around a lot anyway. I sort of expect them to be sitting deep and letting United make the running and then picking them off on the break. But yeah, we'll see.
I mean, you mentioned there that the break Newcastle have had. They did have 9 days to prepare for Chelsea, and they looked like they'd played 4 games in a week when they came out, because they were just so lethargic, pedestrian, and it was a real shame to see, given how they held on against Southampton. You were expecting, despite how tiring that was, you were expecting some kind of positive bounce, and it was a training game for Chelsea in many ways. In terms of Manchester United's weaknesses, if Steve Bruce rang you up and said, I need a bit of guidance here, what should I be looking for? Where would you point him in the direction of?
Well, it depends who starts for United in some key positions. There is some debate about who will start in goal. David De Gea has been error-prone this season for sure. Dean Henderson's not been absolutely perfect, but he's a very, very good number 2 keeper who's done well at times this season when he's been called upon, including in the Europa League game. So if De Gea starts in goal, I think there's an obvious weakness there. He does struggle when asked to come out and command his area. He struggles at set pieces. The same can be said of Victor Lindelof, who's been starting at centre back. Again, Eric Bailly played in the midweek game, so he could possibly come in and maybe eradicate that issue, but by himself it is vulnerable at times and can be quite erratic. So the Bayer Maguire partnership, or Lindelof and Maguire partnership, if Newcastle can exploit that physically, I think that's probably key to their battle plan, and also targeting the goalkeeper, and just play on the fact that United have not got a huge amount of confidence in the league at the moment. They've not been scoring hatfuls other than that 1-9-0 game. You can frustrate them and you can get at them defensively. That's without a doubt.
I spoke to Malcolm MacDonald earlier this morning for an extra episode of what will be our preview show, and he spoke about the formation he would like to see. Obviously, for Newcastle fans, we all know who Malcolm MacDonald is, a great Newcastle United striker, so no one better to speak to really than himself about Newcastle's striking issues at the moment. And he wants to see Andy Carroll and Dwight Gill up top in a two-man attack, because he thinks Andy Carroll can bully Harry Maguire and give him a bit of a tough ride on Sunday. If that was the case, would that work in the way Mac's envisaging?
I would disagree, actually. I do think that Maguire is probably more vulnerable to pace, and obviously that's not Andy Carroll's game and never has been. Dwight Gale might be the one to exploit that. I don't know. I think obviously Newcastle have got a few other forward-ish types. I'm a big fan of Ryan Fraser. I don't know whether he's fit for the game, but I'm a big fan of his. When he was at Bournemouth, he had a couple of good games against United from memory. And obviously Miguel Almiron has been good for you guys this season as well. So I probably would go against that. But like I say, I think it's Maguire's partner who may be vulnerable physically. If it is Lindelof, then maybe Carroll does come into it and set pieces come into it, like I said.
You mentioned just previously there about De Gea being a bit error-prone. It was interesting that against Chelsea, Tuchel said he was playing Kepa to build that confidence up. So maybe, you don't know, Solskjaer might take the same approach and think, I'll try and build some confidence up and play De Gea against Newcastle. Not that he'll be, I don't think he'll be very busy, in all honesty, unfortunately, from a Newcastle point of view. In terms of strengths, now we've spoken about Bruno Fernandes and what he can do. Obviously, Marcus Rashford knows where the net is. But what is the main strength that Steve Bruce really needs to try and target? And is it a player he needs to keep quiet? Is it a tactic he needs to shut down? Where does Man United's main strength lie?
Yeah, I think you'd say Fernandes again, really, wouldn't you? And what he creates and the runners that United can get going off him. If Rashford's in good form, if Mason Greenwood's in good form, the understanding that Fernandes has with those players is excellent, and they've got the recent confidence maybe from the Sociedad game with Rashford scoring and Fernandes getting two, that they can kick on now and start finding that fluency again that I spoke about before. I think the fullbacks from United actually have been much improved of late. I think anyone who's watched Luke Shaw this season will have been surprised by his performance levels. Maybe he really is hitting new heights in terms of United form and should definitely be in the England conversation, I think, in my opinion. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka is an improving player all the time. He scored his first Premier League goal last time the United and Newcastle met, actually, and he's scored since as well in the Southampton game. So I think the pace that United have and the cutting edge out wide, together with Fernandes's ability to knit it all together.
I put Luke Shaw on my fantasy team, so based on what you've just said,
solid bet. It's a solid bet.
It is fantastic, and Bruno Fernandes is my captain as well. So I'm trying to see the positives. If Newcastle don't win, then maybe I get some points that way.
You're hedging.
Is this a game then? And I think I already know your answer, but is this the game that Manchester United fans look at and think it's got to be all 3 points? And if you don't get all 3 points, something's gone wrong somewhere.
Yeah, they fancy it. They fancy it really as a banker, I have to say. I know I'm speaking to a Newcastle audience here, so I don't want to completely vilify myself. But United fans do feel very confident, and they have to really. There's 2 games that United have after this against Chelsea and Man City in the league. So if they don't win this one, they're making it really hard for themselves, and they could be pulled into the top 4 battle when really they want to be looking ahead of themselves to the title race rather than that. So I personally am confident that Man United will win the game, and I think many of the fans are as well. But you can never be sure with the Solskjaer team. That's the one thing that I've said throughout, and I'll stick by that you can never be certain, and something lurks around the corner that tends to destabilise Solskjaer every now and then. I am fairly confident that it won't be on Sunday, but we'll see.
You mentioned our listeners. I'll already know I'm going to get a few comments by the fact you keep referring to Manchester United as United.
I know I do. I need to stop doing that. I thought about that before the start of this podcast.
In terms of Newcastle United, you've mentioned Ryan Fraser there, and he is fit. He's just not been picked to start at the moment. It's been a bit hit and miss for him. But is there anyone else that you're really looking forward to seeing in action? Maybe Alan St. Maximin, you mentioned Miggy. I mean, is there anyone that stands out for you that you are looking forward to seeing?
St. Maximin is a player that I like, actually. He was very, very impressive in that game when Matty Longstaff scored the winner in a 1-0. He was absolutely superb. Just Man United players, just didn't seem to be able to get near to him. And I can't quite understand why he's not more of a star, really, for you guys. I do think that he's the kind of player that Steve Bruce might want to build a side around. He's got an X factor. I can certainly see him playing for a team even higher up the league. If they came calling in the transfer window. Again, I'm vilifying myself there by saying that, but I'm a big fan of his. And Fraser and Wilson, when they're together, I know Wilson's not available, but I think they promise a heck of a lot, and I was a big fan of them at Bournemouth.
I mean, I think Maximin and Bruce, I think Bruce has tried to do that, build a team around him. He played him in a number 10 role, and that didn't work, and that was kind of at St. Maximin's request, and then COVID struck, and St. Maximin's really still feeling probably the effects of long COVID. I mean, he's back and he's fully fit, but I think he's still trying to get into the stride again, especially because he had something like 6 weeks without doing anything at all. Wasn't training, wasn't even keeping his fitness because he was just so hit by COVID. So I still think we're still yet to see the best of St. Maximin. And the worry is that when he doesn't have a good game, or he's not on form, or it doesn't come off from the opposition mark him out the side, like Chelsea did anyways, Newcastle are very restricted in what they can do, because the plan is, it's pretty clear what the plan is. It's give it to Alan St. Maximin and we'll let him do his magic. And when he does it, it's brilliant. But sometimes he holds on the ball too much, doesn't make the right decision, and sometimes it just doesn't work. And then you're looking around and thinking, well, what's plan B? So it'll be interesting to see if Steve Bruce can maybe just work on a bit more, and hopefully that begins from a Newcastle point of view anyway on Sunday. And we'll finish, I guess, then just with your score prediction. I ask all our guests on the show to do that. It's not something many like doing, but Dom, how's it going to end on Sunday?
Yeah, I think I'll say Manchester United to win by 2 goals, whether it's 3-1 or 2-0. I'll probably maybe say 3-1 because I think they have vulnerabilities in defence, and there could be a goal from a set piece or something like that for Newcastle. So a comfortable-ish victory. We've seen so many times that it hasn't been as comfortable as many Man United fans would like, but I'll say 3-1, and then you can clip this up and share it when it's not 3-1 on Sunday afternoon.
Well, we do appreciate you sparing the time and popping on the Everything is Black and White podcast. To everyone listening, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate that as well.